Happy Monday, everybody. My name is Lauren Kirschmeyer, and I'm the Marketing and Outreach Coordinator with Better Business Bureau of Upstate New York. Recently, we asked our accredited businesses, accredited charities, and chamber partners to share their pandemic stories with us. We were so inspired by many of the submissions that we received, and we decided to invite some of these businesses and nonprofits and charities to come and share their stories with you live on Facebook. I'm excited to kick this week off with Aaron Wrench from Comfort Windows. So welcome, Aaron.
Thank you, Lauren. It's great to be here. Appreciate it.
To start things off, can you just tell everyone a little bit more about Comfort Windows and what it is that you do?
Yeah, so Comfort's been in business for over 40 years. We have locations in Syracuse, Rochester, Albany, Buffalo, and also we manufacture as well our windows, and that's right here in Syracuse as well.
When the pandemic hit, that was a hard time on everybody. So what steps did you take to pivot your company when everything happened?
I think it's safe to say that it was certainly the craziest thing that we've ever endured as a company. And you know, a lot of it was the unknown, which I'm sure a lot of companies across the state can go along with. But you know, we really looked at making sure that not only we were protecting our employees, but also our customers. Obviously, following the guidance that the state was feeding in, along with the CDC, making sure that you know, we were able to send our installers out safely to customers' homes and not only protect them, but also protect the customers. And then also our office personnel and our manufacturing folks that were more in buildings. So it definitely was very, very challenging, but making sure that we had masks available to people, making sure that we were educating our employees. Really feel like our communication was probably the most important process of this whole thing, where, you know, making sure that individuals were updated with what was going on, and we were providing the education that they needed in order to know what was expected of them.
What were some of the creative ways that you engaged with your customers throughout the pandemic?
You know, we have folks that interact with customers throughout the entire job process, with scheduling our jobs as well as maintaining kind of a constant update with customers throughout. So a lot of it was kind of feeling customers out to their comfort level. You know, some of our customers wanted us to be in their home. Other customers wanted to make arrangements where we were working kind of outside of them being in the property itself. So a lot of it was just identifying, you know, where the customer was at, and making sure that we honor their wishes, and also make sure that, you know, we were communicating that to our install team so that they knew beforehand, you know, what our customer was looking for, which was very important, obviously.
You mentioned earlier how you have multiple different locations throughout upstate New York. How did the reopening phases impact your business? Was it helpful having some areas open ahead of time compared to other areas? And how did that change as the reopening phases continued going on?
Yeah, it was definitely challenging, but at the same time, it was helpful. Our Albany branch, if I'm remembering correctly, actually opened first, and you know, that allowed us to kind of slowly move into this. We had our plan already established for when we were bringing our employees back, so it was communicating that plan, making sure that, you know, we were having those education times with our employees so that they understood what was expected. But it definitely helped, because then we were able to kind of take that information and learn from it. And as we started to open up the other branches, it flowed even more smooth. So it went very well, but having it on the front end with one branch definitely was more helpful than having everybody go at once.
That's great. I'm sure you experienced a lot of change throughout the pandemic, whether it was for employee purposes, consumer purposes, and just everything altogether. So how do you feel that what do you feel like the pandemic has taught you about your business and how you operate?
I think it taught us how resilient we are as a company, and as well as our employees. You know, I think we always knew that we had a really solid team, and we had a lot to be proud of. But when you enter into something like this, and you know, you realize the sheer magnitude of what's going on, and that this is literally, you know, life and death situations. And you know, we dealt with employees who who lost family members, who lost friends, had situations going on in other states, and just a lot going on. And I'm sure that there's many people out there that can sympathize with what we dealt with. And what it showed was that we have a team that we're really, really committed to one another. And while one person may not have been as concerned about the virus, maybe as another, we have a group of people that, at the very least, they could respect the fact that they're either working with another installer in a closer proximity, and they need to be aware that, of wearing the mask or social distancing, or maybe if it was somebody who's working down the hall from someone that also was more prone to it. And they would never know that, but they just knew that, this is the situation we're in, and we just need to be respectful of one another. So it just showed us what a truly tremendous team we have, and could not be more proud of the people that we have working here.
Many businesses feel like the pandemic implemented protocols that will now remain part of their practice. How did the pandemic positively impact Comfort Windows?
Yeah, I think it showed that we could do a lot that we didn't necessarily take advantage of before. For example, what we're doing right now. We may have had a manager who traveled from here over to Albany, and it doesn't mean that we never have people travel anymore, but it showed that, instead of always going to those lengths, maybe we can set up an hour Zoom where we can have that conversation, and we can share our computer screen and have more of an interactive learning session, whereas before we really didn't take advantage of that. Or maybe we can accommodate an employee who needs to work from home for a period of time, whereas before, maybe we would have looked at it, but we would have said, well, we really would prefer to have them in the office, just because it's the unknown. You don't know if you can, how that all works. So COVID kind of forced that into reality. And we've been able to, I think, to move forward really well with it.
How do you feel like your mission and your core values with Comfort Window really shined throughout the pandemic?
I think, again, we've always really made it very, very important that we place our customers first, and also value our employees, obviously. But I think that it showed that, we've been such a huge part of the community for so long. And our customers were able to look at what we're doing and what we did throughout this entire process, and see that, we were extremely committed to them. We were committed to their safety and their well-being. And not only the company took it very seriously, but all of our installers took it extremely seriously. They knew that entering the customers' homes was a challenge, but it also was a great responsibility. And trying to make these customers feel comfortable, and to feel safe in their home, in their own home. And that's a really hard thing to do. Normally your home is the safest place that you have, but when you're inviting strangers in there that you don't really know, where they've gone on the weekend, or are they going to show up at my home and they're following the rules, that presented a whole nother set of challenges. But I really feel like we rose to the occasion, and our team just did a tremendous job. And we saw it time and time again, with feedback coming in from customers just thanking us for, how seriously we took it, and for making sure that their families were safe during the time of getting these things installed in their homes.
That's great. Is there anything else that you want to share about what you've experienced throughout the pandemic and hopefully inspire our viewers today?
I think the biggest thing is make sure that we are communicating with our employees. And I think that was the single most important part of this. We used our HR portal throughout this entire process, whether it was when we were on the very first stage, which was March 20th, a year ago, and unfortunately having to lay off the entire company. And while they were on layoff, we were constantly communicating with them, whether it was about the unemployment benefits, whether it was, maybe it was, what was going on during that time frame, and people were having a very hard time being able to get a hold of New York State, and we were providing them with some tips and resources to help them through that process. Or as we were getting ready to come back, we were communicating with them in advance and making sure that they understood all the protocols that were going to be in place, what to expect day one of coming back, and all the way through now. Now we're dealing with the new guidance from the CDC, and just about a half hour ago, the governor came on and said that New York, starting Wednesday, would be following those guidelines. So now we move on to the next phase of making sure that we're communicating information out to employees so they understand what Wednesday is going to look like. So it's a heavy responsibility, but I think that as employers, if we take that role very seriously and we make sure that our employees are the first to know instead of, in some cases, the last to know, which seems like that's something that can happen very, very easily. It just makes things go much smoother, and you end up getting a lot of confidence from your team. And those are the folks that are on the front line. And so we have to be able to show them how much we care about them. And that's something that we always have, but it feels like we've been able to show it even more so during the past year or so. So I appreciate you allowing us the time to come on, and look forward to any upcoming events with the BBB.
Thank you so much, Aaron. It was great hearing your story and how Comfort Windows has really taken on the pandemic and grown from it and connected with your customers and your employees. And we would love to hear feedback from everyone who viewed today. What did you take away from this session? How do you feel like you can maybe implement some of these strategies into what you're doing with your business? And we'll continue talking and helping one another. But thank you so much, Aaron, for joining us, and continue watching throughout the rest of this week and hear from more of our businesses and charities and chamber partners and what they're doing. So thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Have a great day.